So congratulations, you got a job interview. So we're going to be focusing on those next steps of how to prepare for the interview. So the first step is to research the company and the position within the company. This can be helpful because later on in the interview, it can show that you are interested in it enough to take the time to research. As well, it will also allow you to explore the company's work culture and to see if this is the right fit for you in the end. Step number 2 would be to practice interview questions. Now, depending on where the interview is for, the questions can vary, so I would recommend searching up some interview questions based on that position, but some typical ones that work interviews ask for is, why do you want to work here? What interests you about this role, and what are your strengths? If you take the time to think of these questions ahead of time, you can be better prepared in the interview to answer them. The next step is dressing for the interview. Now, it very much depends on where you're interviewing for. Like personally, when I've interviewed for server jobs before in the past, I've worn black nice jeans and a nice shirt. But if you're going for something a bit more fancy, women nowadays are recommended to wear a dress or a skirt, or they can wear a pantsuit or a jacket with a shirt. Whereas men are recommended to wear either a button-down, a polo shirt, or a blazer. The next step is to bring a copy of your resume. Now, though the interviewer might already have a copy of your resume, bringing one shows initiative, and also the interviewer can refer to it throughout and ask questions based upon it. The next step is to arrive early for the interview. It's recommended to arrive about 10 to 15 minutes early, and this is for a few different reasons. One, it shows that you will show up on time. Number 2, it leaves you any room in case there's a problem with traffic or your car. It ensures that you can be there in time. And number 3, it helps just to kind of get nerves out, just to take a few deep breaths ahead of time, just before you walk into the interview. Our next step is during the interview and professionalism. So when you first walk into the room, you're going to want to introduce yourself. You may or may not shake the interviewer's hands. This has kind of gone a bit out of style with COVID, so just kind of gauge that based on the situation. Throughout the interview, you're going to want to be professional, so no cursing, have a smile on your face, and if they ask a question that you can't think of the answer to right immediately, feel free to just ask to take a moment to think of an answer to the question. That does show that you're actually putting genuine thought into it. As well as, if there's more than one interviewer, be sure to acknowledge each interviewer. It can be helpful to kind of just look at one, then the other, then repeat the process again. Now, our next step is asking the right questions. So this is where that research from earlier may come in handy. So at the end of the interview, they're most likely going to ask, do you have any questions? It is good to have at least a question or two prepared for this time, because it shows that you are interested in the company. So some questions I found online are, what are the key responsibilities of this position? How does this position fit into the company? And how would you describe the ideal candidate? And our final step is follow up. Now, this isn't really necessary for every position. For example, if you're going for a server job at a restaurant, you don't really necessarily need to follow up. But in other positions, you can write an email thanking them and restating your interest in the position. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you're ready for your next interview.